Hi guys, my name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you like my videos, please press the like button. Please do subscribe. To move on to the future and to become a better person, I have to go through therapy, meditation, and try and understand why these, including my parents, why they did the things they did to me, and why I can't form proper relationships because of what has been done to me in the past. And if I want to make the future better and I want to change it around, I've got to work through it. I know people say stop harping on it, the past, but sometimes you've got to go through the past, work through what's happened, and try and change it, because I can't afford a psychiatrist. The NHS keep giving me talking therapies, and they're young women in their teens and their 20s, and they don't know what it's like to lose your children. They don't know what it's like to be beaten over the head and left for dead. They don't understand. And when you explain to them, oh, don't tell me that, that's upsetting me. Well, what do people think when I'm going through what's happened to me, what I felt like? Oh, it's hurting you, is it? You don't want to hear it, but I actually experienced that. What do you think about that? They sent me a 19-year-old woman to meet me at the Salvation Army in Chatham. Very nice, pretty young lady with a lovely handbag, to talk about incest and rape. And she was 19 years old, she told me. I was in my 40s and I wanted psychiatric help with dealing with incest and rape. And they sent me a teenager. And then they wonder why I get upset and I get cross. Do you know what I mean? They wonder why. So I'm going through my own therapy. There's some idiot laughing near my door at the moment. It sounds like a witch. I'm just going to shut my door. I know we all get that, don't we, when we're doing videos? Car horns beeping, people yelling, trying to get... Why would you want to get your shitty conversation into my video? No one wants to hear your voice. I mean, for goodness sake, who was that? No one wants to hear that. Go away. I get it when I go outside. If they think the camera's on, they do silly things. It's not me that's the dog. Anyway, guys, so I was talking to this 19-year-old girl about what was happening between me and my father. She went back to her boss, and her boss rang me on the phone, and she said, oh, Ruth can't come and speak to you anymore. She can't deal with what you're saying. She can't deal with what I'm saying. Talking therapists are supposed to be trained counsellors. So they sent me basically someone just out of their teens to try and help me talk through incest and rape and losing my children. So that was stopped. Then they sent me to a place in Gillingham, and it was a blonde, anorexic looking woman, and she didn't know what she was doing either. So I'm doing my own therapy, and it's telling people, there's people that have got worse stories than me, and they are on YouTube. People on TV talk about their experiences of bullying, harassment, rape, incest. I'm just telling my story, and I have every right to do so. So I came down from Gloucestershire to Chatham in 2008 to try and get help to get my son back, who was living with my ex-husband at the time. He was not in care at that time. Bonnie Stevens, a Canadian social worker, had given Anthony to my ex-husband to give me time to clean up my flat at Fairfield Court, right? But things happened, and I came down to see if I could get help from my parents. I knew my dad had a car. I knew my dad had just had an inheritance. My auntie Doris Trower had passed away, and he'd been left thousands of pounds. So I thought maybe he could help me go up to Gloucestershire and help me tidy up my flat and get my son back off of me. But there was something going on between Gloucestershire and Chatham, and I ended up with my flat at Fairfield Court being possessed, taken away from me, and I ended up stranded in Chatham. What transpired was one of my sons got cancer. My husband was forced, he said, to put my youngest son into care because he couldn't cope with dealing with my son's cancer and a small toddler, right? So he put my son into care, thinking that was the best option. I was left stranded in Chatham. I had no home, so I had to live with my parents. And that's where my dad started to abuse me, touch me, and try and have a relationship with me that I did not consent to and I did not want. And I'd rung the police 2 or 3 times. I was told to shut my mouth or I would go to jail. Me. Now my dad's dead, I can talk about this because, you know, he's dead. Right? So I was forced into a relationship I did not want. And I'd been to the police and I was told to go back home, and I was constantly being abused by my father. So even when you do tell the police, even when you do get the courage to tell, they don't do anything. They do fuck all. They were probably hoping my father would kill me because I'd reported him. So, I'm just going to tell you about this one incident where I don't feel that my mother, either through her mental illness or whatever, or the capacity of not looking after anybody at all but herself, left me alone in the house. My dad went to work. I'm just explaining one instance of how I feel my mother does not care about me, right? I was left in the house of Victoria Road. My dad had gone to work at Brompton Barracks, where he worked as a stock clerk, a storekeeper. And the Queen had been to visit Brompton Barracks. Her HRH, the Queen, had been to Brompton Barracks on a couple of occasions, and apparently she required a gold-plated toilet seat. She wouldn't sit on an ordinary toilet. She carried a gold-plated toilet seat around with her. That's what I was told. She wouldn't sit on a common toilet. So I was in Victoria Road. My dad was at work, and there was a boiler, a gas boiler in there, a gas boiler, and my mum had arranged. I was left in the house, and my mum said, "Behave yourself like she normally does. Don't take anything. Just I'm going down the shops." And she was unusually long. She was unusually long at the shops. And she'd only gone out and left the gas on. She'd left the gas boiler on, but the pilot light had gone out. So gas had flowed all through the house. She'd been gone for 3 or 4 hours. So I was left in a house and there was gas escaping everywhere. And I was feeling light-headed and dizzy, and my mum wasn't coming back. So I phoned the police. I said, I don't know, I don't think my mum's done it on purpose. I mean, I don't think she has. I think she's gone out and I can smell gas escaping and I don't know where it's coming from. So the police obviously told me, I think they got in touch with the emergency gas, and a gas engineer came out, a bloke on his own. My dad was at work, and he came into the house and he went through all the house and he said, it's your boiler, it's your pilot light, it's gone out, the gas is faulty. So the gas was faulty in Victoria Road, and my dad had that house since 1985 in that gas, and the fire was condemned. The guy switched the gas off immediately and condemned the fire. He put stickers all over the gas fire. My mum came home after all this, about 4 or 5 hours later. The guy had gone and everything, and she said, she just seemed oblivious to it, you know. I'm not saying she left the gas on purpose, but there was gas escaping she'd gone out, and the gas had been escaping for hours. So I'm keeping safe. I've tripped over wire when I've been round my mum's flat. I've tripped over wire and nearly had a lampshade stab me, because I've gone out to hang my clothes up on the line, and then I've nearly tripped over and had a piece of lamp go in me. There are hornets in the back garden, and they're dangerous. I mean, there's hundreds of them. They're in the summer, and I don't want to be stung to pieces. When I was younger, there was laburnum in the garden, and I later learned that the laburnum plant is dangerous if children eat it. It's poisonous. So I think my life has been in danger for a long time. I don't understand why. I don't know why. I'm not a threat to anybody. I certainly wasn't a threat to anybody as a child. Not that I know of. But I'm always put in danger. When I was a child, someone picked me up from school and took me away from school. I was abducted, but my mum found me, but I was abducted from school once. And I'm trying to work through things. I mean, I do think someone has been trying to harm me. My dad physically abused me from the age of 10. And of course, whoever was involved with him wouldn't have wanted me to tell, would they? And we don't know who my dad was involved with, whether it was a paedophile ring or something that he was involved in, because I was 10 when I was abused, 10 years of age. And of course I used to scream. No one heard me. I used to scream when my dad was touching me. But it was like this block of flats here. It was built like Fort Knox, right? Thick walls and under, like, you know, no one could hear you. So I'd be running up and down screaming when he was doing things to me, but no one heard me. These places are built so that no one can hear you. I think they had the intentions of my father to abuse me in this property, but he died because he came round to this property once. My mum told him to drive me round here. My mother said, take Genestra home. He came to Corey's Road once, and, he'd abused me at my other address. He'd abused me 3 times at my other address. And I'm pretty damn sure the neighbours knew, and everybody knew, and they knew when I was a kid and what was going on in Gloucestershire, because they're hearing everything you're saying. So you don't tell anybody. So when I was a kid, they probably saw me running around being sexually abused by my father in my flat. I believe so, because I believe this flat is definitely got spyware in it. It's bugged. And it's to stop you talking and to stop you telling people, isn't it? To stop people finding out. So I believe when I was a kid, they were watching me being abused and listening to it. And this paedophile ring was enjoying watching it. Dad used to take me to caravan parks. I believe the dirty men in there were watching and listening from the opposite caravan. And my mum came up to the caravan parks as well. So, it's child pornography when you're a kid, isn't it? When your father is molesting you and playing with your private parts, it's child pornography I was subjected to. And they must have all been watching and listening. And now they've just got an empty flat with me in it. They don't hear anything. But my son has come in here and he has said, sit down to Max, sit down, behave yourself, good dog. And then I'll go outside to walk Max afterwards, and you've got people laughing down the road. Usually women, females laughing. This flat, you couldn't have a relationship in this flat with somebody. It's just a matter of proving it. I know it's going on, but you've got to prove it. So when my father was sexually molesting me since the age of 10 years old, I believe they was all watching and listening. And that's how, when you call the police, they used to come out straight away, because they're sat there in their cars listening. And we know that we've got bogus police rapists, police murderers. They're in prison. You can't trust the police. I used to call an ambulance. It was round the corner. It wasn't a real ambulance. I've never got real professional care or help. And that's bloody dangerous. Getting an ordinary person to dress up as a doctor. And I have been given the wrong pills and the wrong prescription. They gave me too much amitriptyline, and I could have overdosed on it and died. And that was done on purpose. Because if they can't get rid of you, and you don't shut your mouth or you don't comply, making out you've overdosed on medication. And I'm an older woman now, and I've been through sexual abuse since I was 10 years old. I'm 55 now, and they won't let me go. They won't stop it. They won't let me go. They still want to control me. Using my mother, and I'm not going up there. Not anymore. I believe the takeaway was drugged. I used to come home after eating the pizza and I would fall over on the field. I nearly broke my ankle. I'd eaten the pizza and then I used to come home, I'd feel all dizzy and faint, and I nearly broke my ankle on the field. I don't care how hard it gets. But the reason why they listen and they spy is because they need to know where you are, what you're doing and where you're going, in case you find a real person, not one of their stooges, and someone believes you. Now I'm going to get on with the rest of my day, right? My birthday is on Wednesday, and I am Crystal, right? My mother was married to a paedophile. See you later.